Es ist Zeit bereit.
Hello, liebe Leid. Hello, dear people out there in YouTube land or wherever you're joining us from. Maybe you're joining us from the Facebook page, or maybe the link from Instagram or from X, Twitter. Glad to have you guys here. It is Doug. We're back at you with another episode of Your PA Dutch Minute. The last time I came to you guys, I fulfilled a viewer's request, a subscriber's request on opposites in Pennsylvania Dutch. He was trying to build his vocabulary. He's learning the language. That's Jason. So shout out to Jason again. And I said at the end of that video that he sent me 40 pairs of opposites, and I didn't want to do all 40 in one video. So I broke it up into two. So if you missed the first video, check out the channel and you'll see it's opposites part 1. That'll give you the first list of 20 opposites. And today I'm finishing that list out with the next set of 20 opposites. As I said last time, if you're someone that's learning the language, this is a great opportunity to build vocabulary. And it's a good way of practicing vocabulary because you can do things with the opposites. You can say something is big and something is small. So not only are you practicing these adjectives in a lot of cases, these opposites, but you're also then practicing with nouns. For example, if we had big and small, and maybe you could say something like, the dog is big, the mouse is small. And then that's helping you build that vocabulary because you have to look up the word for dog and you can learn that, or maybe you already know it and you got to look up the word for mouse, and then you can take that and then start building sentences and make comparisons because they are opposites. But that's enough of that. Well, I'll give you a couple tips towards the end of the video if you are a language learner trying to learn Pennsylvania Dutch. But let's get right into this great stuff that Jason sent me. So here is the second part of our video on opposites in Pennsylvania Dutch, Gegendeel, and this is deel 2, so the second part. So we got 20 more pairs of opposites coming at you. I give you the Pennsylvania Dutch. I'll say each of them twice, and you can either pause and then respond, pause and then say them, or watch the whole video, listen, go back, watch it again, and then say them with me in real time. Your choice, or whatever makes you happy, right? So let's go. Gainema. Light and dark. Hell, and donker. Long and short. Lang, and cuts. If you ever sang the song Schnitzelbank, those two are in there, but they're flipped. It's Katz und Lang in the one lyric in Schnitzelbank. Maybe you know that song. Loud and quiet. Laut, and ruhig. Many and few. Viel, and wenig. New and old. Nigh, and alt. Open and close. Uf, and zu. Rich and poor. Reich, and arm. Right and left. Rechts, and links. Safe and dangerous. This was a great set of opposites when Jason sent this in the list. Sicher, and gefährlich. Here's another one of these words where we have a G and then a consonant right away. And some people look at that and get a little scared. How do I say that? You're just going to say both consonants. You're going to go one right into the other. Gefährlich. It's a little weird because we don't make that sound necessarily in English, but you get used to it. We do it quite a lot in Pennsylvania Dutch. Single and married. Lenig, and keihard. Here's another important quick for those of you learning the language. We have a lot of words in Pennsylvania Dutch that start with a GH combination. Again, we look at that as an English speaker. We're like, what in the world? Hired or something like that. But here's one thing you always need to remember for those of you that are really serious about learning language and trying to get better. Anytime you have a word that has a GH at the beginning of it, that always makes a K sound. So it's not gehired, it's keihard. And trust me, this happens a lot in Pennsylvania. So those of you that are out there learning, keep that in mind. You see a GH combination at the beginning of a word, it makes a K sound. Okay. Smooth and rough. Glatt, and uneven. Soft and hard, weich, weich, and hot, hot. Tall and short, grows, grows, and cuts, cuts. Now you're going to say, hold on, Doug. I thought gross was big. Gross is the word for big, but it's also the word for tall as well. Okay. So I always make the joke because it's the same thing in German as well. In my German classes in my high school where I teach, I'll say, if you go to the store and there's a big and tall section, like a lot of clothing stores will have, in German, that would be the gross section, or in Pennsylvania Dutch, it'd be the gross section, big and tall. Anyway, I digress. Thick and thin, dick and din, dick and din. Dick and din are also fat and thin or skinny. So just keep that in mind. They can be both of these situations. Tight and loose. Tight has two possible words. You can say eng and you can say fest. So there is a difference between these two words. Eng is when something, like if you're trying to squeeze through an opening, or you're coming off of Christmas break and you've eaten too much cheese and ate too much food, period. And now your jeans are eng. That's that tight. Fest is tight if like a bolt is tight and you have to you're trying to unscrew a screw and you just can't get it, or that jar lid is really tight on the jar. That's when you use fest. You wouldn't say that the jar lid is eng. That doesn't make sense. You have to say the jar lid, for example, it's fest. I can't open it. It's tight. It's too tight. So remember the difference between those two words. There is a difference. You can't use them interchangeable. They have different meanings. Eng, tight, as in like it's a tight situation. You can barely fit into something. Something's too small for something else. And fest is when something is like really tight on something. So keep that in mind. And the opposite, loose, is lodrich. Lodrich. Warm and cool, warm, warm, and keel, keel. Wet and dry, nass, nass, and drucke, drucke. Wide and narrow, braid, braid, and schmal, schmal. And the last two sets, young and old, jung, jung, and alt, alt. And then finally, strong and weak, kräftig, kräftig, and schwach, schwach. So there's a list of 20 more pairs of opposites. So that's 40 Pennsylvania Dutch words on top of what we had last week. That's 80, or the last time we did a video. You've now built your vocabulary by 80 new words, maybe. Or maybe you knew some of these and you didn't know some of them. So you've, in any event, whether you learned 80 new words or you learned 40 new words, or maybe you just learned 2 new words in Pennsylvania Dutch, you are building your vocabulary. As I said at the end of last video, if you are a serious student trying to really learn the language, you got to practice. And if you're in a situation because of where you live, maybe, and you don't have people to physically practice with, that's where I invite you to do these little tricks around the house that I've said before. Just use the words, say them out loud. Keep practicing. You're sitting at the dinner table, and again, pick one of these words. I like the last two, kräftig and schwach. And let's say, you're having dinner with your husband or your wife or your friend or your girlfriend or boyfriend or your kids, your grandkids, and say to them, okay, the word in Pennsylvania Dutch for strong is kräftig. What do you think? Tell me something that's kräftig. And you get a conversation going. Or you say, okay, what is something that's schwach? And you get that conversation going. And you might think, well, yeah, but the conversation's all in English. It is. However, you are building Pennsylvania Dutch into those people's minds as well, because they're probably going to always remember, oh yeah, schwach, because they'll associate it with something. Let's say that they think something is, your grandson says, Superman is kräftig. He's going to remember that. Trust me. Or, I don't know. This cup of coffee is schwach. It's weak. People will remember it if they say it out loud and use it. And that goes for you too out there if you're learning the language. Keep at it. Don't go through these and say, oh, Doug, there's 40 words. There's no way I'm going to memorize them. Well, no, you're not going to memorize them all at once. And I wouldn't expect you to. Well, maybe if you're my student, I'd push you to, my actual student. But you are my student. And I'm going to tell you, take it easy on yourself. Learn a little bit at a time. Especially if you're an older person and you know that, oh man, my memory's not as good as it was, Doug, and I just can't remember things. I can't learn things as quickly as I used to. That's all right. It doesn't mean you can't learn. It just means you're learning different than you were when you were 20, right? So be easy on yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself and just keep practicing. Maybe you're one of those people that are flashcard people. Well, get a bunch of index cards and write these all down. And then in the morning, instead of turning on the news and hearing distressing stories about what's going on in the world, pour your cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is you drink in the morning and work through your flashcards. And then look out and watch the birds at your bird feeder and then go back and learn a couple more and focus on something new, right? Instead of maybe get out of your old routine and get into a new routine and make learning Pennsylvania Dutch part of your new routine. And you'll quickly realize that if you can form a habit and if you keep using these words and you say them a couple times and you start associating them with things, you're going to remember them. And you're going to be surprised at how much you start to remember. Just some tips from one 20+ year seasoned world language teacher, veteran, to all of you. Don't be too hard on yourself, but keep practicing and keep trying. If you like what we're doing here and you'd like to get some Pennsylvania Dutch merch, I'd like a t-shirt with a bunch of Pennsylvania Dutch words on it or phrases or imagery. Check out our Zazzle shop, zazzle.com/PA Dutch stuff. All the stuff there is local and organically created from our part. I can't talk for the actual clothing itself. And like I said before, it's not just t-shirts. It'll show up as t-shirts, but you can then click onto a variety. I think it's like over 1,000 different items you can get our images on and our words on, et cetera, et cetera. So check that stuff out. I have a bunch of our stuff on as magnets on my refrigerator. And that's another cool thing. They'd make a really cool gift. If you have someone in your life that's learning Pennsylvania Dutch, buy a magnet with one of our phrases on it or images and gift it to somebody and then have them stick it on the refrigerator. And every day that they open that refrigerator, they're going to see that Mach Scoot magnet or that Ich bin Deutsch magnet or whatever you choose to give them. Or that goes for you too. So check that out, please. And if you do like what we're doing here and you'd like to financially support us, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Doug Mainford. All money raised in that goes to the upkeep of the channel, and that will allow me to keep bringing you quality Pennsylvania Dutch content. And if you're on the social media, first off, on the YouTube channel, if you haven't subscribed and please do that or tell a friend. And if you've subscribed and you're like, hey, check out Doug's channel and have them subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the more our message gets out. But also you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look for @PADutch101. where I post tons of stuff throughout the week. It's not just the videos. I do a meme of the week every Monday, your Meme Monday. They're usually funny, or at least I think they're funny. And then I have other stuff. I'll share the stuff that's going on in the Pennsylvania Dutch communities on those various sites. And you can also check out my website, padutch101.com, where you can find my monthly blog and also tons and tons of links to anyone that's interested in learning more about Pennsylvania Dutch, not only the language, but culture, history, all that good stuff. So until next time, dear friends, keep practicing your Pennsylvania Dutch, practice these new opposites. And again, don't be too hard on yourself. Just keep at it. Keep at it. Till next time, dear friends, Schwätz Deutsch, speak Pennsylvania Dutch, and Mach Scoot.
Mach Scoot, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And schlock that notification bell.